Hello everyone and welcome back to Wargame Red Dragon. So today we're here for another Take My Town, the follow-up from yesterday's where I defended in Echo as the British against the fury of Vime's Eastern Bloc, and I came up kind of wanting. So I'm going to be doing something a little bit different here. Where my opponent attacked from the east yesterday, I'm going to be attacking from the west. We have a lot of infantry, we have a lot of fire support in the form of FV 432 Rardens, as well as some Saxons, a Challenger 2, and some scout vehicles, as well as just a lot of cheap scout infantry. I want eyes on this thing. I have this open straight, we can take advantage of it, and of course 1400 points versus 1000 proved to be very effective yesterday. We'll see if we can capitalize on it as well. So I do also have a piece de resistance here, a quad stack of M110A2RAs. These are 10 HE power, slow rate of fire, but don't really need that so much. And they are just going to be pounding the towns here before our advance. A little bit cheeky on my part, a little bit of bending of the rules, as it were. A technically speaking, engagement had started because he'd spotted my infantry, I'd spotted his, but yeah, I am possibly being a little unsporting opening up with those guns so early. So my apologies there, but we will be moving up real soon. Spartan coming forward and just, I don't know, I thought it was interesting. I thought it was a bit of a nice duality to it, to have Vimes' push through the woods yesterday and that excellent work there with smoke and with just grinding through the rear part of that town, and then my own work here in the open almost, right? So there was a little bit of answering artillery fire from Vimes, but that was an HE MLRS artillery piece, and it's not going to be able to get through the admittedly light armor of these RAs, and even if it does, they're parked right next to my FOB. So we are going in after an FLA SFL, and I think it's already killed. We can see, yep, that's the flaming carcass right there of that 35-point anti-air vehicle. And now we have some light infantry engagements going on. I'm going to speed things up just a little bit because the beginning is kind of just a sparring match. And we do also have, of course, a little bit of smoke coming down from a mortar, trying to deny my opponent's, he's quite a big fan of bringing ATGMs to unexpected places, and I didn't want my vehicles, my Saxons and Spartans, to be taking that fire. Now, it is better that they would take that fire than anything else, but here is exactly what I want. So the Rardens are moving up, my Green Jackets are shooting, we have the range, and the RPG-7s off the Motschützen, with their 700-meter range, cannot return fire on ordinarily very fragile fire support vehicles, right? These guys are 15 points for a reason, and you can see there is some long-distance fire support coming back in, but so far this has been pretty nice. We're up 50 points to 10. The mortars just denying line of sight over and over and over again, even denying line of sight to some Prusminski, of course the Eastern Bloc scout infantry of choice, and a little bit of mortar fire coming back, but I mean, this is why I have these cheap vehicles forward, the 10-point Saxons, admittedly 15-point Spartan, and I'm also trying to get a little bit of use here of, he's supposed to technically start inside the zone. I thought maybe that meant there'd be some stuff in the back forests. We were able to get rid of those SPWs pretty well, and I thought maybe we could crunch down from that top side, as well as through the center. So paratroopers moving forward, Fox moving up to support, and Paras versus Motschützen will be interesting. So paratroopers, of course, shock training, 25 points is a bit expensive, but they have a mini-me, which is very nice. And the Motschützen, I'm trying to get their stats up on the left so you guys can see as well. They're not bad by any stretch. Maybe a little bit not quite as good as the paratroopers, but then again, who is? And my paras are taking some fire from Prusminski, of course, with that Dragunov SVD. Very nice long-range fire there, and definitely something I wish I'd had access to. But you can see these Rardens and the Warrior Milans on the edge here, just staying a little bit out of return fire range, are doing some pretty excellent stuff. So 200 points already gone. Of course, Vimes only has 1,000 to defend with, and we've only taken 55 points in losses in return. So it's sort of looking the same as it was yesterday, but the shoe is on the other foot, as it were. So I'm hoping for a good result, and just trying to take my time, right? So my artillery is going to take time to reload. My infantry is going to want to be careful. If I rush the vehicles forward, we'll lose them, and we may as well have a little bit of fire going in at suspected enemy positions. So I should have been smoking up more, again, probably denying line of sight to those woods, even as the match goes on, but let's go ahead and pick things up a little bit. And there is answering artillery fire, very nice play from Vimes there, but it looks like it's pretty small HE, so not a lot of damage done, and the Green Jackets will be leading the way. So we spot Motschützen, Prusminski, a resupply vehicle in the woods that will not be lasting all that long, so right away my paras start moving over to it, and yeah, we pay a little bit of a price for that. I mean, there's only 2 Mochutsen left here, but LSTR are going to be a bit of a problem, and we're just playing the, spot it and shoot it game, so if I take a look back, these guys should be aiming, but good play from Vimes. He, I think, realizing at this point that this is not going to be the engagement he wants, is trying to move around the side. Since the engagement has started, you can move stuff out of that one defending zone. And there's Mochutsen as well as OT-64Cs with their Matluka ATGMs moving up and around the side. So paratroopers do get the resupply vehicle in the back there, a little bit hard to see, but I'm trying to get them out of the way of being shot at from the city. And a Conqueror's team's gonna give me a bad day, so one Rarden already just eating that ATGM right to the face. Probably my Fox going down as well to Mount Luca. Oh, no, swing and a miss. Let's see what the Conqueror's team can do. Second kill, and these Rardens are very much not enjoying that. So 2 of them still moving forward, 2 of them dead and gone. And we are able to get a little bit of fire, so oof, this is not a good trade, right? So Conqueror's team's about 25 points each. I've lost 45 points in Rardens, but wow. Artillery coming in, and we've just pounded down a group of LSTR. Also answering fire from the mortars against that Conqueror's team is going to be quite effective, and we're up to 365 points. A couple of Tatras as well getting killed as the 5-point vehicles. Probably the LSTR carriers, I'd imagine. I don't really know why Scout Infantry sometimes has just god-awful 5-point transports, but they do. So another Fox done. Challenger 2 moving up, and that's going to be denying the OT-64Cs any luck here, as well as potentially getting good fire on the Mochutsen. And now we finally have paratroopers going up into the town, braving the fight against damaged infantry, and paratroopers also going around the back end of this position. I was thinking maybe, now that he knows I'm attacking from the west, he might be moving stuff up to present a strong front, and I might be able to get some cheeky kills with paratroopers in unexpected places. So my paras here are kind of suffering, but I have quite a significant points advantage in points remaining, let alone points deployed to begin with. So I was thinking at this point, well, if I lose some paras, it's not the end of the world. I have Fusiliers 90 behind them, I have Green Jackets, more Green Jackets, SAS. It's not like I want to run out of infantry, far from it, but I thought maybe, just maybe, this would be worth it, especially as we are going to have some supporting fire coming in as well. A bit of an overchase from the Mochutsen, and Fusiliers moving up into that town are going to do excellent work. Plus a little bit of friendly fire, it looks like, from the enemy artillery, and the Fusiliers now trying to move up there and finish off a couple of these damaged enemy units. But I have to be a bit careful. My artillery's pounding in, and it's getting a little bit close to some friendly fire on my end as well. But Mochutsen now retreating. We've cleared this front, I'd say, probably pretty well. About half of my opponent's forces are gone, and we've had to make some rule changes after this, so, well, both Vimes and I kind of abused artillery in these pushes, and it turns out that's really hard to deal with when you can't put pressure on other fronts, when you can't just, call in more artillery of your own to counter fire, or another bomber to counter fire, things like that. Paratroopers in the back, getting a couple SPWs, but we'll have to keep an eye on them. Anyway, we've decided, I think, to cut the price of artillery, which sounds weird, right? That's a buff. But to limit the number of volleys that each one can do to 2 or 3 volleys. So they are complete volleys, not total number of shots, but that should be in play for the next Take My Town next week or the week after. Green Jackets getting stunned and overwhelmed by OT-64Cs, and a really nice, just overwhelming amount of fire there. Mochutsen, meanwhile, taking on a Spartan. And my advance through the woods has been taken out. BMP-2s, meanwhile, limiting the success of my Fusiliers, and more artillery coming in from Vimes trying to pound those guys down. A little bit of damage and a stun, so pretty nice. But my paratroopers on the far side get into a shooting match with Mochutsen, and as these guys are in a town, that's going to go poorly for me, so I'm trying to get them back into the woods and no longer spotted. In the meantime, my Challenger 2 is moving up, but with the ambush that just happened in these woods, I was feeling like that was a little bit risky, so that's actually going to be a reverse move back and away from the woods, trying to present my front armor there in case there's another Milan team or something like that. I don't want to lose that 170-point tank to something stupid and unnecessary. And again, a little bit more friendly fire, actually killing 3 of my Fusiliers with one of those and another one with the follow-up shot. So, timing, right? Timing is important. OT-64Cs, meanwhile, doing even more work. I love those vehicles. I think I have them in my Entente deck as well as in my Eastern Bloc deck, although I'm not the biggest fan of Eastern Bloc. Used to be. Now I think it's kind of difficult. But Warrior Milans and Rardens should be more than enough to take those guys out. Just tons and tons of autocannons doing what they were intended to do, and because the Oat dies before that ATGM makes contact, it of course is guided, and so the ATGM is going to miss. Challenger 2 now opening up, and yeah, that's not a contest. That's just a massacre. A little bit of artillery coming in at the far town, trying to get the infantry that were giving my paras a hard time. Doesn't turn out to be too successful. You can see they were moved away at the last second there, saving them from that volley. Might take a little bit of incidental damage, but not a lot. Fusiliers trying to get the BMP2s. This was, yeah, it was a bit questionable, getting them out in the open. But these guys are getting ground down. It's okay. That's kind of what they're there for. And the push is now starting to go in earnest. This probably should have been smoked as well. I did have a mortar there. This is kind of just, I mean, looking at the amount of stuff left, I wanted to keep the pressure on, and was okay if I lost a couple of things along the way. Paratroopers moving forward again, but Motschutzen are going to be sort of, well, just outright killing them. Meanwhile, my Saxons takes them down by an SPW, which, I mean, that's Saxons are not really meant for fighting. So Fusiliers moving toward the woods, Milans and Rardens in front of the Challenger 2, screening that advance. Not with smoke or anything, but just trying to minimize the amount of dangerous incoming fire, and particularly unexpected incoming fire, and this was beautiful. So Lynx AH-7s moving up using those Sneb rocket pods, also fire support from the Rardens and from the Paras, and this is sort of the intention now. We use the Paras to move up through these woods, and we just have overwhelming fire support coming in from all sides. More artillery coming in from Vimes, and he didn't really know at this point, looking from his perspective, a lot of this stuff was hidden because of just not a lot of units were left in the area, but, you know, better than nothing, and it did kill a Fusilier, so a single man dead from that, and more artillery going into that back zone. Paras encounter the FLA as FL, but I had manually targeted them on the resupply vehicles, so they take a ton of damage before they're able to kill that, and the Motschutzen should be able to mop them up pretty well. Specjalny Jednostki and another FLA, just, it's just murderous. I gotta say, I never did direct fire against infantry with anti-air vehicles until after it was done to me, and done to me by Vimes, so lots of things to thank him for, and curse him for at the same time in that regard. SPW is somehow outranging and outsighting Rardens, but we are going to have a little bit of answering pain here coming in. This is just mortars trying to stun things, keep them from moving out of the way too far as Green Jackets move in, but it looks like they were going up toward the fight, so the FLA is opening up on the Rardens, and these guys, only one frontal armor, but it was holding against that light fire from the SPWs. FLA is gone, and my Paras unfortunately killed in the back there by Motschutzen, but now we have the advantage, and the Green Jackets are holding, while the Lynx AH-7s should be hitting. Second volley of rocket pods, and just a lot of dead enemy infantry, which is what I like to see. Specjalny Jednostki now found, and only a couple rocket pods left from the Lynxes, but it's enough to get the job done, and that was truly amazing. I do accidentally kill my own troops, but such is the way of things. And now we can see the fight is pretty much over. About 160 points left to my opponent, but most of that was found in his artillery, and that's going to be probably not the most nail-biting take my town so far on the channel, but it certainly does illustrate the power of good support and a wonderful support tab, and accurate and overwhelming artillery fire. So a bit of a contrived situation. I knew I didn't have to fire and move, but still, that's what we've got for today. Thank you all for hanging around, and we'll see you again real soon.